Michael and Trevor Tolo, Marketing Manager at Solution Systems, back for episode 4 of Manufacturing in the Now. Today, I'm going to talk about the 5 biggest challenges I believe manufacturers are facing in 2022, as well as some of the solutions. So let's dive right in. It's no secret that manufacturers have been one of the industries that have been the hardest hit over the past few years. For them, dealing with the pandemic was more difficult than a lot of businesses because they couldn't just send home a 2,500-pound vertical knee mill with each employee during the lockdown, right? Then, if manufacturers were actually deemed an essential organization, they had issues getting materials because of the multitude of businesses that had been shut down during the lockdowns. Then, out of nowhere, well, not out of nowhere, but it appeared that we were all figuring out how to live with the pandemic and begin to return to our pre-pandemic ways of life when a war breaks out in Europe that causes shortages of many essential items. I hate to say it, but it's like the stars have aligned to make life extremely difficult for certain manufacturers. That being said, manufacturers are some of the most resilient companies with some of the most forward-thinking individuals who always find a way to adapt. This reminds me of a quote from Maya Angelou that sums up manufacturing organizations, and it is, Maya said, "I can be changed by what happens to me, but I refuse to be reduced by it." So, what do I think the biggest challenges being faced by manufacturers are? And how are manufacturers changing to keep moving forward? Well, I'll break it down for you in no particular order. Number 1, software inefficiencies. You've heard it before, but using outdated software is like using a blacksmith to make 1 million fasteners, a wooden racket to play tennis, a leather helmet to play football, pencil and paper to manage inventory, or true on-premise software during a pandemic. Quite frankly, it's just ludicrous. In fact, software plays such a key role in modern manufacturing that it can actually help improve most of the things that I'm going to talk about on this list. For example, Ken Sebahar and myself sat down with Jim Gio on one of our podcasts, and Jim talked about the ability to have software that has manufacturing, services, and jobs functionality help their organization not only adapt during the pandemic, but also to thrive. So, what's the solution to this problem? Microsoft offers all the software that is needed to help all manufacturers reach their potential. Number 2, labor shortages. During the pandemic years of 2020 through 2022, people started viewing their lives differently and began changing how they lived. From this, the Great Resignation was born. According to Pew Research Center, the COVID-19 pandemic set off nearly unprecedented churn in the U.S. labor market. Widespread job losses in the early months of the pandemic gave way to tight labor markets in 2021, driven in part by what's come to be known as the Great Resignations. The nation's quit rate reached a 20-year high last November, and the manufacturing industry saw over 1 million jobs lost, which set back the manufacturing labor force by more than a decade. The solution for this is, unfortunately, there's not a single solution that can solve this issue. I think the manufacturing industry needs to work with high schools and colleges to really change the perception of the industry. The bad part, in an age of social media where young kids grow up believing that real life is having, five private planes, 10 luxury cars, and 8 mansions, while being an influencer is going to make changing the perception of manufacturing jobs extremely difficult. Number 3, supply chain disruption. As I alluded to earlier, the pandemic played a part in disrupting the supply chain, and now the war in Europe is also having an impact. I think that most manufacturers of products and consumers of products have encountered an issue where what they needed wasn't available, and I really don't see this issue going away anytime in the near future. So, what's the solution? Well, prevent COVID from infecting people, resolve the war in Europe, and establish good trade relations with foreign counterparts. Unfortunately, this is a whole lot easier said than done. So we've all got hope, though. Fingers crossed that in the future we can resolve all these issues and get back to the once fun life we all had and loved. 4. Scalability. More so now than at any other time in the past, manufacturers need to have the flexibility to not only scale up when needed, but scale down when needed. With so many issues that are out of their control, it's nearly impossible to be able to predict when COVID may flare back up again, how long this war in Europe is going to last, or if there's going to be other wars that stem from this current war in Europe. Therefore, manufacturers need the option to be able to add functionality and users during periods of growth, as well as remove users during periods of distress. So, what's the solution? How does this get solved? Once again, same as I believe it was the first topic we talked about. Microsoft software offers software that is fully scalable. Number 5, cybersecurity. Cybersecurity could very well make a case as the number one challenge faced by not only manufacturers, but all businesses. A hacker attack occurs every 39 seconds and affects 1 in 3 Americans every year. You may not have been a victim of a cyber attack, but I bet most of my Mont Blanc Elvis Presley collection that you know someone who has been a victim. The biggest mistake organizations make is believing that they are too small to be targeted. This is 100% incorrect. Every business is a target. Let me break down some of the facts for you. So, most data breaches, 48% of them, were caused by malicious or criminal attacks, 25% by negligent employees or contractors, and 27% involve system glitches. Cyber intrusions have increased 400% in the age of COVID, with particular impacts in SMBs and financial fraud. The average ransom paid in 2021 is now $310,000, and the average downtime for an organization due to ransomware attack is 21 days. That's over 5% of your annual revenue lost. If you are a $10 million business, that's over $500,000 total. That is ridiculous. So, can you really afford not to be protected? Probably not. So, what's the solution? Well, I would say start by educating yourself on different types of cybercrime and different ways to combat cybercrime. Obviously, look into your backups and whatnot. I will below. I will link to a PDF called "The Definitive Guide to Cybersecurity Protection for SMBs." It'll let you know of what to do. It'll give you a link to take a cybersecurity test. It'll break down the most popular terms for cybersecurity. So it's really everything that you need just to kind of get started and begin your education of cybercrime. So there you have it. Those are the 5 biggest things that I believe are affecting manufacturers in 2022, as well as some of the solutions to combat these 5 biggest factors. So take care, everybody.